meaning over money. And I know that may sound a little contradictory if you're running a business, which one of the main points is to make money or profit. But what I've learned over the years is that when I chase money, it runs. But when I focus on meaningful work that's making a difference, that's solving a problem, that's aligned with my personal, core values and mission and vision, then the money flows. When we have a scarcity mindset, it's like we're moving into think scare city, a city where you're always afraid, you're always worried, like, I don't have enough, I'm not enough, there's not enough. And so that tricks your mind into believing that's true. And then that ends up being your truth. But when you open up to an abundance mindset, it's like, it's more than enough. I can give and it will return to me. I can, I don't have to hold on so tight to everything. Live the life of abundance that you have now. And that is coming out of scarcity. You don't have to have it all figured out the moment you cross over into your 20s.
What's up, you guys? It's your girl, Bianca B, and welcome to the Bianca B Show, where we talk about business, finances, and friendships. I'm super excited to talk to our next guest today. She is very special in my life. I've known her since I was a little baby, and she has been such an inspiration. She is a coach. She is an author. She is a triple threat. She will get you together, but in a way that's so authentic and so real. And I appreciate her because she's seen me through this journey and also have helped me tremendously throughout my personal life and my career. She's been a mentor to me. I always say she's my mentor, and she's been a coach, and she's just overall a great person. If you've been in the Detroit streets and been on social media, you've seen Monica Marie Jones. She is amazing. How are you?
I am well, and I'm excited to be here with you today.
So I love to start each interview question with the icebreaker. So what's one book, podcast, or just something inspirational that has had a major impact on your personal growth or coaching style?
So I'm glad you asked. I'd love to recommend the book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And he has you thinking about, what is your zone of genius? So often we are in jobs or careers or have businesses where we are doing things that are either in like our zone of incompetence, which means somebody else can do it way better than us, competence, somebody can do it just as good as us, or excellence. And you would think, oh, excellence is the thing to be, but there's something greater, which is your zone of genius. And that's the thing you were uniquely suited to do. And a lot of times it's more comfortable in the excellent zone. So we're afraid to take that big leap to doing what we know we were purposed to do. But when we get there, like so much abundance and amazing things and joy come into your life. So not only did that book help me, but I use the concepts to do activities and workshops with the people I support.
I love that. And backstory, you were the very first person I ever interviewed. I was 17 when I had this little camera and a blog. You were the very first person I've ever interviewed in my life. And I just want to say, this is like a transitional moment. I am now 31, and I can't believe I can't believe I'm this age now, which is crazy. And just seeing your journey and just seeing you and how you've been such an influence in my life has been just like magical. So I appreciate you even being here today. I want to kind of backtrack for people who don't know about you, and who are starting to get to know you. Can you just give us a little backstory of how you became a coach and at this place you're in right now in your life?
Yeah. So as you know, I just would love getting together with friends or people I mentor and just do activities to help them reflect on their life or connect with themselves and others. And it came from me naturally. I'm talking about since I was in middle school. I would have friends on the three-way line and be asking them questions and doing activities. And I thought that meant, oh, I'm supposed to be a teacher. But when I was about your age, one of my friends said, "Hey, have you ever thought about being a life coach?" And I'm like, "What's that?" Because it's a fairly new field. It's really only formally been around a little over 20 years, maybe about almost 30 now. And so I started doing a little bit of investigating and, studying life coaches. And then as I was going out and doing my business at the time, which was focused on training adults who work with youth, some of the adults would come up to me after the training and say, "Hey, can I meet with you for coffee?" And I realized that, while it was wonderful to help children and make sure they had the type of quality programming they needed, the adults needed some support too. So I took 5 of those women who came up to me and I said, "You know what? I'm going to go get my coaching certification. Can I practice with you? Group coaching for 6 months, free one-on-one coaching." And then when I saw the breakthroughs, the changes, the huge, beautiful life transitions they were having, and I can't take credit, they did the work. That's how coaching works. That's when I knew. I was like, oh, this is it. This is what I was meant to do. This is so rewarding. And that's what launched my coaching business. And I didn't even have to do much marketing because people saw the changes in them and say, "Girl, what you been doing?" And they're like, "I went and got coaching with Monica." And that literally led to ongoing clientele from there on out. And that was about 6 years ago when I formally started the coaching arm of my business.
And you're one of those people, I always say we're kind of similar in the case where we are talented at so many different things. How did you know like this was your purpose and this is what I'm supposed to do in this season?
I think the most telling thing was that I could take all those talents and pour them into this one thing. Because, like you, I used to be a dancer and I was an actress, and I tried all the things. And when found out that, through this personal and professional development work, I can have people sing because there are mental health benefits to that. We can dance because moving your body is taking care of yourself personally. So I was literally able to take all of my skills and talents of performing arts, teaching, social work, and use it to create my own unique and custom way of coaching. And it's been really effective.
I love that you do that. And, something I love about you, once again, is like you're talented at so many different things. Were there ever people who told you to stick with one thing? Because I feel like that's something I struggle with too. And I know a lot of my listeners struggle with that. Do I stick to one thing? How can I implement everything all into one? I feel stuck. And that's a common word that people say. I feel stuck. Like, I don't know
Mhm.
what to do. And it's even at a teenage age nowadays. So was there ever a time where people told you to stick to one thing? And what's your tips on people who feel stuck? So those are two like separate questions.
Yeah. So, first, I've heard the same advice. And I did get to a point in my life where I felt a little all over the place. And I said, well, let me try this focus thing for just a year. For 1 year, I'm going to pour my all into doing these trainings and workshops and professional development for youth programs across the country. And for that year, when I put all my energy into that one thing, still using some of my other gifts and talents, I did see my life change for the better. Like the money went up, the focus went up, and I was able to get, other skills and inspiration and ideas from that focus to lead to the growth of my business. Now, so that's one. So there is absolutely value in focusing on one thing. But I will say who made me the person I am to be able to have a successful and thriving business is having given myself the space to try all the things, because there are lessons and skills I learned, relationships I formed from all the different careers and paths and businesses I tried that now, have really polished who I am today, and who could, would make my business, my coaching approach, the way I do trainings and retreats way more interesting. And I don't know if it would have such a robust feel to it if I hadn't tried all the different things for a little while I had the freedom to do so.
I love that. And so for the person that's feeling stuck, like myself, who feels like, yo, what should I be doing? Like, I know so many people come to you like, I feel stuck, Monica. What should I do? What are some strategic steps that you can give to people who are feeling stuck?
Yeah, so that was actually the other thing that sparked my coaching business because I was feeling stuck. So took a break from doing all the things and helping all the people and focusing. And I took like a year or so of just deep reflection and kind of doing my activities and exercises on myself, because I was like, I went to college, I did all the things I was supposed to do, but I still feel stuck and I still feel like I don't have anything to show for it. So I literally sat down, read a few books, and would, just like I explained with the big leap, I would create or take exercises from the books and take myself through them. So one of them was just looking at all of my finances. What am I spending money on? How am I spending money? Why am I spending money? I also kind of looked at, what has been working in my life so far and what has not that I need to change or release with love. And then I just kind of set myself on a path. So I literally took myself through my whole coaching approach before I tried it with anyone else. And I saw the improvements in my life. So I would say the biggest first thing you can do to get unstuck is take some time for self reflection. We do a lot of energy outward, but not sitting down and just literally maybe writing everything out or looking at everything or thinking, whatever the case may be, but taking a look at your life and then assessing what's working, what's not, what do I need to release with love, and so on.
And I like that you mentioned that because in our coaching session, you did something similar where you did the red light tactic, the green light, and the yellow light, which I loved. Can you kind of just tell us a little bit about that little nugget?
Yeah. So on in my introductory coaching session, I take everybody through what I call a soul journey. So first, we look at what's on your plate, and we literally take a paper plate, write out all the things, and then say, okay, what's energizing me? What do I enjoy? What is draining me? So you're able to look at your personal and professional life and start to say, hmm. And a lot of times that in itself will create a breakthrough. Because when I did that with myself, I'm like, whoa, all the things that make me the most money do not energize me. It's time to shift. And then we after the plate, we look at, okay, let's look at the last year of your life. What have been the highlights and things that work, no matter how small, and what have been the growth opportunities, the things that were challenging or that you want to change. And once we have all that information, we go to the traffic light reflection. So, looking at everything we just learned from the plate and the highlights and growth opportunities, what must you stop doing to have the life of your desires? That's your red light. What has been working that you want to continue? Those things are your yellow lights. And then finally, what must you start doing to live the life of your dreams? And even if it's a long list, we narrow it down to the top three. And we take those three green lights and turn them into tangible goals. And that means something you could be videotaped doing. Not that you will be, but that's how you make sure you're specific. You have a date by which you'll get it done. You have your action steps, your accountability or support system. So it's a nice, fun, creative, and non threatening way to get clear on your path forward.
I love that. And also, nowadays so many people are taking care of their mental health and their mental space and getting, accustomed to these different languages of therapy, of a life coach. So can you kind of just walk us through the difference of each one from a therapist? When do you need to seek a therapist? Should you go to a life coach? What are your tips on that?
Yeah. So one of the things I do to make sure it's clear is I always send my clients kind of terms of service before we get started that breaks down the difference between a therapist, a coach, and a consultant. So with a therapist, they are a trained mental health professional, they're certified, and while their work helps to move your life forward, a lot of it is reflecting back perhaps on childhood or making other connections about your behaviors and things in your life, and just having that space, that safe container to talk through it. They may give you exercises or homework, but it's just like a space to process. With a coach, coaches may or may not be mental health professionals. I did go, get my master's in social work with an emphasis on wanting to become a therapist. I didn't go through all the certifications, but it lends itself very well to coaching. But the difference here is coaching is about moving forward and taking the concrete actions and having that accountability partner, kind of like your guide on the side. And then I added consulting because sometimes people just tell you what to do because they have a certain knowledge or skill set or expertise, and that is consulting, people paying you for your expertise, but that is not coaching. So coaches are meant to, ask questions and help you pull out what's already inside of you and then kind of help you a structure to move it forward. So if you have a coach, it's just like, you need to do this and you need to do that, and I wouldn't do this. That is actually not coaching. That's more consulting.
Got it. Got it. Good that you separated the meaning of that because some people are always confused on what they should do. Right now I'm in the season of therapy, like
Mhm.
to really get rid of the baggage and the trauma and things like that. Going into this show, we talk about business, finances, and friendships. With the business side, How do you know when it's time to full throttle entrepreneurship? But between corporate, your 9 to 5, and entrepreneurship, when do you know to take that leap? And when
That's
was that aha moment for you to take your leap?
Okay. That's a good question. And it's so connected to the book that I recommended, The Big Leap. So I took The Big Leap back in 2007. So I was like 25 or younger. I don't know. And I remember just feeling miserable with my work, even though it was great, meaningful work. I was just like, office culture is not me. Coming and getting up and going to work every day and talking to people, at my desk when I'm supposed to be working. I was like, that's not me. And I also had a very strong pull on my creative life. Like, you need to go write that book. You're betraying your soul the longer you don't do what you know you were meant to do. So I pulled my boss into my office and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And he's like, what? We'll double your salary. What can we do to get you to stay? We can't afford to lose what you have up here. And I was like, I don't know. No, I can't do this. And he was like, well, what if, will you consult for us? And I was like, oh yeah, because he's like, that's flexible. You can say yes or no. We'll pay you $500 a day, which was a lot back then. So at that moment, it's like a light bulb went off. I'm like, that's it. I'm going to start my business. And I took the leap and the net appeared because my last job was my first and one of my longest clients. And all my friends at that time were like, you're crazy. What about health insurance? What about if all these things. And I was just like, no, I know I'm happier here. And of course, there were times where it was up and down, there were struggles, but it's still the best decision I ever made. So it depends on the individual. You have to know what's right for you. And there are some people who run a business and have a job, but really you'll know when it's time. You'll take the leap. It'll be scary, right? You may or may not have a big plan, but it will, I feel like there will just be like this click and you'll just do it and you will go from there and you will learn what you need to learn.
I love that. And going into finances, because when you do become an entrepreneur, it's a lot of pivots. It's a lot of ups and downs financially. So what are some mantras or financial tips that you can give to listeners about how mindset goes with money?
Okay, so the one I am actually living by this year, the mantra is meaning over money. And I know that may sound a little contradictory if you're running a business, which one of the main points is to make money or profit. But what I've learned over the years is that when I chase money, it runs, it eludes me, right? But when I focus on meaningful work that's making a difference, that's solving a problem, that's aligned with my personal, core values and mission and vision, then the money flows. So there may be a time where I just like volunteer for a thing or get a small stipend. And the next thing you know, somebody saw me in that audience and they're like, here's a contract for $50,000 to do this work because we saw the impact or we felt the impact. So what I have found, and as Oprah says, what I know for sure is when I focus on meaningful work, the money appears, the money comes. Even if it's not from that direct thing, it comes from some other way and it flows. So that's one thing. And that's kind of connected to mindset. When we have a scarcity mindset, this was in another book I recommend called The Abundance Code. When we have a scarcity mindset, it's like we're moving into think scare city, a city where you're always afraid, you're always worried, like, I don't have enough, I'm not enough, there's not enough. And so that tricks your mind into believing that's true. And then that ends up being your truth. But when you open up to an abundance mindset, it's like, it's more than enough. I can give and it will return to me. I can, I don't have to hold on so tight to everything. So I could go on and on, but hopefully that answered at least
I
part of
love that. And so many light bulbs went off because you've had so many like moments that when I did coaching with you, it was just like they stuck with me forever. It's the hell yes.
it.
Can you kind of tell us about that? And then the condiments, the paper straws, the ketchups, the ketchup drawer. I remember that. So can you tell people about that?
Yes. Okay. So the hell yes test I got from listening to a podcast with Tim Ferriss. He was interviewing Carmine Gallo, and it was like, if it's not a hell yes, it's probably a no. And I was like, oh, so I literally draw 3 columns for my clients. One is hell yes, exclamation point, all caps. Then there's yes, and then there's no. And then on separate post-it notes, I have them write all the things they're doing or considering. And what we realize is that we end up saying yes to a lot of things and people and opportunities that we're really not excited about. So when the day comes or when it comes, it just feels like drudgery. So what if we just focused on the hell yeses? Not only would it bring us more joy, but it would give us less overwhelm. It would bring, it would open up our capacity. Now we're setting boundaries for our mental health. So that's the hell yes test. And then the scarcity mindset thing, which to this day I am still working. So, give yourself space and grace. Sometimes holding on to all the Taco Bell sauce packets or all the ketchup packets, it's like, I got to keep these because maybe one day. And I'm like, Monica, you can buy a bottle of ketchup and a bottle of taco sauce if you need to. You don't have to hoard all of the things, right? So pay attention to what you're holding on to and kind of do a clearing or a decluttering. For example, if you have like super shabby yoga pants, and for me, like inside the thigh is starting to be holes and little lint balls, and it's like, okay, you can let go of the shabby things, the broken things, try to hold on to all the things. Yes, they may come in handy, but you can, there was a time where that was your life. You were, kind of struggling and you needed to, but that is not your life anymore. So live the life of abundance that you have now, and that is coming out of scarcity or scarcity mindset.
I love that. I love that. And then going into depression, you could be a walking depressed person. And I definitely was one of those people who would be in full glam and still depressed internally, going home crying, where's my life? What am I doing? And so has that happened to you with depression being such a light to so many people and taking on so many energies? Has that happened to you?
Absolutely. So the first time, I was in my 20s and I was like, something is not right. Like, so I went and tried to get help. And I remember even, sometimes people around me are like, oh, just pray about it. Come on, be your regular bubbly self. But a lot of times people who, and I'll speak from my experience, the people who are most bubbly and on and shiny, it's to try to combat how you feel inside. So I have been diagnosed with major depressive disorder, and I did a lot of research around, what are the natural ways I can take care of myself? And it's some of the things that are readily available to us, like movement and exercise, getting outside in nature and sunshine. So I did a lot of changes like that to treat it over the years, but then it can come back, like during the pandemic when not only was I feeling the trauma, the collective trauma in the world, but also supporting people who were having to lay off teams or shut down their businesses or losing loved ones. And like you said, carrying all the weight of emotion around that. So it's really important, especially when we are in a field where we're constantly helping and serving and taking on the energy and emotions of others, to have our container. So, like you said, a therapist, a coach, writing in your journal, your exercise routine, those things where you are able to, refill yourself, because there are so many things now, including a lot of the things we eat or the products we use that are really impacting our mental health adversely. So we have to have those practices in place to take care of ourselves.
Mm. And a lot of my audience, they are women of color. And, there's a lot of trials and tribulations that come with that. What are some things that you've noticed in your clients that, if someone who can't afford a therapist or who can't afford a life coach as a Black woman, what are some things that you've noticed in us that can help us within this episode?
The biggest thing is each other. So there's another book I'm probably going to recommend like 10 before we leave. It's called um, Sisterhood Heals, the power of healing in community, or the transformative power of healing community. And it's by Dr. Joy Bradford, who is also, a mental health professional and therapist. And she started therapy for Black girls. And so we always have, I don't want to say always, because I know some people may find it challenging, but having that community, whether it's one other woman, a small group, and not to put the weight of them being your therapist or coach on them, because that's not fair, but just having people you can talk to and spend time with and do positive activities with. So I understand that coaching and the price for it in therapy may not be accessible to everyone. So I like to do community events where instead of paying $175 to $300 an hour. You're paying $30. We're going to feed you. We're going to do some activities. You're going to be in community with other women who are looking to grow. And you're going to walk away with some tools and some inspiration to continue that work for yourself. And I've done different series like that in the community in Detroit. And now it has broken off into little things where, like, women who met there were complete strangers. Now they have their own little mastermind or accountability group, and they continue to do things with each other to, support each other through life, business, and health.
Mm. And you are like myself, an ambivert, where you're like an introvert and an extrovert. And so my question for you is, how do you make friends as an adult? What are some tips you could give?
That's a great question. I feel like most of my connections are like word of mouth or people who have seen me in my work. Because I was just thinking about that the other day. I don't really like go out anymore. I don't hang out at the bar or, like go do social things. But in the work I do, I may meet someone I connect with. And a lot of my new friendships these days are people who are like, you need to meet this person. So some of my dearest and closest friends, of course, some are from, the past, from college, but some are like, hey, I want to start a mastermind group. Here's this therapist, here's this other coach. Let's get together. And then from having those meetings, I'm in a mastermind group like that. We meet every Thursday morning at 7:30 a.m. on the phone. It's been an opportunity to share our wins, share challenges, go through things together, celebrate together. And then that just keeps having a ripple effect. So once you get a good crew, or just have, a good five people around you, that can lend itself to other beautiful relationships.
And so, what would you tell your 20-year-old self and your 30-year-old self? Let's start with your 20-year-old self.
Ooh, this is great. I was actually reflecting on this morning. I think in the 20s and 30s, and I know this because I still mentor women in those age groups, we're so hard on ourselves. We're like, I'm a grown up, so I have to have it all figured out. I have to do it all right. I can't mess up. I can't do wrong. And in hindsight, I was like, girl, good for you. You lived. You had fun. You did what you wanted to do. You broke some molds and you have lived a life. So you don't have any regrets. And all of those things shaped you and helped you to grow to who you are today. So I think if I had focused so much on trying to be perfect and trying to be right, today I'd be feeling like, oh, I didn't live a life, but I lived, honey. I lived. So 20-year-olds, it's okay. Some of the things I didn't figure out till I was in my 40s, and it's fine. And I'm happy, right? So you don't have to have it all figured out the moment you cross over into your 20s. You are still a young adult. Your knees and your hips still work right. Your hormones are still balanced. So enjoy it while you can. And not to dread your 40s or your 50s. This is a beautiful time too, because we care a lot less about what people think, which gives us a lot more freedom. But you are in your peak, in your prime, and these are your greatest years. Even though a lot of things feel really tough mentally, this is your time to live.
I have a few more questions. One being to the people pleasers out there, like women who are, people pleasers. What tips and advice can you give to them?
So think about people pleasing as any other substance you might get addicted to, because it literally, sometimes we do it because we want to get that praise and that validation and, that feeling of being needed. So just like any other addiction, it starts some chemical things going on in your brain. And it's like you crave it more and more and more. But connected to living your life, think about, what do you want? What if you were a people pleaser to yourself? What do you really want? Because when you are clear on who you are, and you've heard me mention your core values, your vision, you want to attract those who are for you and you want to repel those who are not for you. Because if we're just trying to please everybody, we're going to get all the stuff. And then that sometimes leads to the mental health challenges and the financial challenges and that. So, what would it look like to get really clear on who you are and what you want and what brings you joy so that your people can find you and you repel those who are not meant to be in your circle of influence?
Mm. And you've always been a person who had a strong personality. You have a light when you walk into a room, and that can intimidate people. How, what advice can you give to the person who's like that, who is very similar, who is bubbly and just like friendly and like light up a room, but that makes people not confident like other people. What advice can you give to those people as well?
Wow, such a good question, Bianca. As I was getting ready for this interview, I was like, let me put on this lavish, this is like a long, glittery robe. I was like, because this is who I am. And it made me feel so good and so authentic to myself. And there was a time, because I've always been this way, but there was a time where I started to dim my light because I feel like it made other people uncomfortable or less confident. Or I've also been called a lot, a lot. People say, oh, you're a lot. But then I was like, you know what? This is who I am. I'm going to embrace it. It goes back to what I said. Let me repel those who are not for me and attract those who are for me. And that has brought some really wonderful people into my life. So when I went through a hard time, and when I go through hard times, they still happen. I realized I got a really good tight circle of people who show up for me and who I'm not too much for, or who don't feel like I'm a lot. They love me for the light that I am, because that's because I went and found my other light. And those who were feeling intimidated or I felt like I had to dim for, love you, but I release you with love. And I spend time in the light. And there was a click for me. And this is also an indicator when it may be time to transition careers or relationships. I remember there came a time when I was doing different speaking engagements and trainings, like let's say at a conference, and people would come after me and be like, I'm not a Monica, or I'm not going to be all energetic like Monica. And that kind of hurt my feelings, but I was like, you know what, that's their insecurity, and they should be whoever they are, whether it's quiet or soft spoken, and people will be attracted to that authenticity too. So find out who you are as your whole authentic self, be that, and you will attract that same energy, and you don't have to try to make the other energies comfortable, because they have their people too.
I love that. And you've written what, like 8, 10 books?
I think it's 8. I lost count because I haven't
Yeah.
written it in a while, but yeah.
And what have you learned and what are you most proud of as far as your work and where you are today? What are you most proud of?
I'll start with connecting it to the books. Um, the books showed me, and it started in grad school when I had like 25-page papers I had to turn. I was like, if I can write this many pages of a paper, I can write a book. So I love that feeling of capturing my creativity or inspirational information and then having a finished product, and being able to give that as a gift to the world. So that gave me the confidence to do things like start a business or see things through that feel really big and scary. It's like, okay, if I can write a book, I can do anything. I would say I'm most proud of the impact I see in people's lives as a result of, maybe like you said, there are certain things we did together that you'll never forget. So I love seeing people, I love to celebrate people in their joy and their thriving and their accomplishments. And it makes me sad when people say, almost feel like, are you for real? Because they're not used to people being so excited and like cheerleaders for them. But I am most proud of seeing maybe a client who was nervous about starting a business and now their business is thriving, or seeing a client whose health was failing to the point where they were scared, they were on the cusp of not being here anymore, to now they're fit and they're healthy and they're energized, and that in turn has turned their mental health around. So just seeing when people have that support, that community, that accountability, the changes they're able to make for themselves and their lives, and having been a witness along the journey. So having seen that so many times now, that just lights me up every day.
I love that. And being a career person and being a career oriented person, do you feel like you can have it all? Can you have the money? Can you have the relationship and family? And can you have the success of a business? Do you feel like you can have it all?
What a good question. I don't know if I heard this on a movie or a real person, but they said you can have it all, just not all at the same time. And that, I would say that has been my truth too. Like sometimes you'll have all the material things, but then but here's the big thing that some of my clients have said. When I got the big check or the big house or whatever, they said, I thought I was gonna be way happier, but now it's here and it's just kind of like, and not that they're not grateful, not that they're not excited, but The joy a lot of times is in the process. It's in the present day-to-day moment. It's not necessarily about all the things. So yes, you can have it all, but I don't think there's a guarantee that everything will be what you thought or hoped it would be. So choose the things that you really, 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 the hell yeses, and just go with those.
Oh my God. I love you so much. And I'm just so grateful for you just being in my life. Like I said, we've known each other since I was like 5. Like I've known you for a very long time. And it's just amazing just to see your brand has how you have evolved. Like I've seen every era of you from 20s, 30s to 40s, and just like how you have still always been a light and true to yourself. And that's so rewarding. I've seen you help so many women, including myself. And like I always looked up to you growing up. And I'm just super, super grateful for you being in my life. And, I'm so, so happy for you. And just I just love it. I love seeing you. And where can people follow you, and where can people get all of your books and want coaching from you?
Yeah, so everything starts with monicamarie-jones.com, or just Google Monica Marie Jones. That's why I use my middle name, because I think Monica Jones is a common name. So if you want to find me, just type in the whole name and that will direct you to how to get coaching, any upcoming community events I have. Pretty soon, I'm going to be releasing my date for this year's international retreat. So, oh, and I think the best way is when you go to my website, monicamariejones.com, sign up for my newsletter, because that's where I send out, not only an inspirational message pretty regularly, but also how you can, engage with some of the things I'm doing in community, work with me one-on-one, or how you can join me for some of my retreats.
I love you. Thank you so much. It's your girl Bianca B. Make sure you guys follow me at It's Bianca B at Bianca B Show. Bye guys. Bianca B, beat it, Bianca B, beat it, Bianca B, beat it, Bianca B.